Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to thank your family and your friends who are here with you today. It speaks volumes about you. General Dunford, as Commandant, worked very hard on the mental health issue. I just wanted to make sure to get a commitment from you to prioritize mental health and suicide prevention as part of your readiness for all of your Marines.
Absolutely, Senator.
And that as part of that there be no stigma in seeking help.
Senator, we've worked this, and I can personally tell you as hard as we can. I believe we're made progress, and to the best of our ability, every Marine knows they're out there that what we want to do first and foremost is help them if they need it.
One of the things, you know, in working in this area over the past few years is finding out how critical leadership at the squad and platoon level is to finding out mental health problems. And, you know, I want to make sure that your leaders at the squad and platoon level know, make a call, talk to somebody. If you see one of your Marines going sideways on you or having struggles, they probably see it before anybody, don't you think, General?
Senator, I agree completely, and I can tell you that the focus of our training, and as we do the suicide prevention and how to react to that, is focused at that level. And I can give you personal accounts of where sergeants, junior staff NCOs were there at the forefront to either give a hand or keep a Marine from doing something that they probably wish they hadn't done and save their lives.
General, I spoke this morning to the governor in an area that you're very familiar with, Anbar Province. And we were going over the efforts that are in place right now to retake Ramadi and Fallujah, to protect Haditha, and obviously all of Western Iraq. What is your view on how to best rebuild the relationship with the Sunni tribes and to partner with them against ISIS?
Senator, again, I have not been in Iraq or in Anbar since I left on my birthday in 2007. I would like to go back and see it for myself. But I don't think the relationship with the Sunni tribes the issue is not with us, it's with the government in Baghdad. They have to believe that their central government is going to at least give them some modicum of support, that they're going to fix the roads, let the water run, give them gasoline, make the electricity work, fix the roads, and let them, you know, worship as they see fit. So that relationship that was damaged, it was tenuous at best. It was damaged by previous governments in Iraq. If Mr. Abadi can do that, then I think he'll gain their support, but he'll have to work really hard.
In Afghanistan, you know, we face significant challenges moving ahead, and the Marines have been such an important part of securing entire areas of Afghanistan, of creating secure regions. As you look at that, what do you see moving forward as some of the keys to success, to stability there, to holding on there?
Senator, I've visited Afghanistan a number of times, but I never served there, so my experience base is limited. But again, I think it goes back to the Afghan government believing that we're going to be there to support them, that the resources are going to be there, and that they have the confidence, and that their soldiers have the confidence that there's going to be somebody there to back them up. There's similar problems. We need to stay there and work with them. I believe my experience is that, you know, if a foreign nation believes that there's somebody that's behind them, that they're likely to do the right thing the right way, and hopefully for a longer period of time.
Well, I will finish with this. My father-in-law was a Guadalcanal Marine, and he would be very proud of your service, of all your years of service, and would look very much forward to you taking command of the Marine Corps. So we wish you the very best.
General Neller, Ms. Neller, welcome and congratulations. Thank you both for your service. General Neller, I want to start, and first I apologize for having to step out. We had to have a quorum in Judiciary Committee and had to step out briefly, so I apologize if I'm asking a question that's already been asked. But I'd like to start by talking about what will be your top ground modernization program priorities.
Well, Senator, right now, the two top programs, and they are yet to be fielded, is the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle and the Amphibious Combat Vehicle. Both of them are, the JLTV, as I understand it, is close to low-rate initial production, and the ACV, we should down-select to 2 vendors with 16 vehicles this fall, and then we'll eventually pick one. So and those, in that area, and there's a couple other things, but a radar, a multi-purpose radar, and a whole variety of other things. But right now, as far as specific programs, those two are at the top.
Can you talk a little bit about the reason why they're top and the difference it makes in terms of your capabilities?
Well, for the JLTV, we need a wheeled vehicle that has more survivability than the Humvee. The Humvee's been around since the mid-'80s. We've improved it a little bit, but there's only so much growth left in the frame, and we need something that's going to give us more survivability and trafficability. So we need to recapitalize and get a new vehicle, and the decision's been made that the JLTV is that vehicle. So we're going to buy 5,500 of them, and I'm assuming that they're going to meet the requirement. I have not looked at any of the test data, but I don't even know who the vendor is. On the ACV, same reason. The amphibious vehicle we have today is 40 years old. We've refurbished it, rebuilt it a number of times. It's okay. It's okay in the water and not so okay on the ground, particularly if there's IEDs because it's flat bottom. It's just not survivable. So we have to, and because that vehicle spends 90% of its time ashore, we have to find something that's going to give us more survivability ashore, but that yet can still move through the surf and get us to the beach.
And that actually leads to the next question I had, which has to do with ship-to-shore maneuvers. I got some exposure to some of the challenges when I was down at Camp Lejeune a month or so ago. And can you talk a little bit about the ship-to-shore maneuvers all the way from the connectors, LCUs, and elaborate on the ACV in terms of the additional capability it gives you as compared to what you have today?
Amphibious warfare is very complicated, involves a lot of moving pieces, and you're also subject to the vagaries of the weather and the sea. So we've got to get to the objective area in our amphibious ships, and we use air cushion vehicles and landing craft, large landing craft, to move heavier loads ashore. Neither the Amtrak or the ACV is going to be able to give us a long-range launch, so we have to be worried about anti-access area denial. So we'll work through some choreography and sequencing of the force. We want to be able to land under cover of darkness, take advantage of that for our security. So this ACV that we buy, just like the Amtrak that we have, has to have some surf capability, some seakeeping capability, and it's got to move at a certain speed so that we can do this with us under a period of darkness.
The last question I have for you has to do with the size of the force. I know that there have been some studies from Marine Corps University that was setting the optimum size of the Marines at about 186,000, just below 187,000. We're at 184,000. We're moving to 182,000. That 5,000 differential, that's a lot of Marines and a lot of killing capacity. I know when I met with you in my office, you're the sort of person that's going to make it work, no matter whatever hand you're dealt. But are you reaching I mean, do you think that 182 is a workable number, or is that just a number you're working with because that's where we are with troop reductions, or do we need to look back at getting to that optimal number if you agree with the assertion that 187 is the optimal number?
Senator, the optimal number for a 3-to-1 deployment ratio, which is what we would aspire to, is 186. And we've built into our plan as we've drawn down, some reversibility of that. And we know what units we took down and cadre and what units we would bring back. 182 is at that point where we can meet the combatant commander's requirements and provide a 2-to-1 depth to dwell, which we think is the minimum sustainable level. So yes, we can do it at 182. 186 would be better, but right now that's not affordable. If resources were made available or we were required or able to do that, we would grow the force back, but that would take some time.
Thank you, General Neller. I look forward to supporting your confirmation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, General Neller, for being here, your commitment to service, all your sacrifices. Thank you for your family to be here. We're very grateful for your dedication. You and I had a chance to talk about a lot of these issues in advance, and I was very grateful for that meeting. After our meeting, I sent you a report that I did summarizing cases at 4 bases in 2013, just as a snapshot to understand what do the cases look like, and I want to just brief you on that. In Camp Pendleton for 2013, they had 50 cases of sexual assault alleged. Now, 10 of those cases were from spouses. So you have an issue with domestic violence that's important to look at. You also had 18 who were civilian. So 28 out of 50 are not part of our survey. So when we surveyed, the DOD surveyed sexual assault last year, they estimated 20,000 sexual assaults. That doesn't include civilians or spouses. So more than half of your Camp Pendleton cases aren't even counted in those numbers. The other statistic, the service members was 21. Now, the other thing I want you to be aware of, because this is a challenge we have in responding appropriately, among your spouses, 8 withdrew their complaint within a year. So they didn't have confidence in the system. They just no longer wanted to prosecute. Of your civilian complainants, 8 withdrew during the year. And then of your service members, 8 withdrew. So nearly half of the cases that were reported, and to report a case, you've got to put your name on the bottom line. You typically get a rape kit, which is very invasive. In any one of these situations, it's now public. For them to withdraw, nearly half to withdraw within a year, does not show confidence in the system. So that brings us to what Senator McCaskill raised, is this issue of retaliation. How much retaliation is existing? And we know from the survey that last year it was 62% of cases, someone who reported a rape was retaliated against during that process. And retaliation comes in all forms, as you know, 53% social, peer-to-peer, 35% administrative, 32% professional, 11% a punishment. So in arguably more than half of these cases, there's some form of chain of command retaliation. So really do look to the lower level commanders, the unit commanders. We have an issue with sexual harassment and sexual discrimination. In all cases, 60% of it comes from the unit commander. So you really have to dig deep to begin to create a better climate, which I think is going to be essential for you to be successful, so you have good order and discipline within the ranks. So as we talked about, I look forward to working with you on that. I think it's very vital. I appreciated your answer to Senator Kane about combat immigration. One issue that I'd like to raise is I know that the physical fitness tests are gender normed, and I know that in the case of Colonel Kate Germano, she was trying to create even tougher requirements for them so that they can meet standards. As you look at your standard review and as you look as to whether you're going to ask for a waiver for any positions today, I would urge you not to seek waivers, because all you're saying is there's no one who can meet the standard today. But if we begin to create tougher standards to come into the Marines, to make them gender neutral, you will have women who can meet those standards. They just might not be able to meet the standard today. So asking for a waiver says, under no circumstances can any woman ever meet this standard. I would caution you not to take that action, because the future of the force, we want all of our best and brightest. So I'd like to ask you just basically, when you are going to relook at these issues, do you expect that you will ask for an exception or a waiver?
Senator, I have not seen all the data, and I don't believe we've in any way, shape, or form presupposed whether we will or not. I have not talked to the Commandant, General Dunford, about this. I will eventually, because he is no longer going to be our Commandant, and so he's going to have, I would ask that he would inform me as to what we're going to do. So I take all your points. Again, I want every Marine have the best opportunity to be successful. Mm-hmm. Nobody joins the Marine Corps to fail, okay? You know, I mean, I asked Marines that. Anybody join here to fail? No. Good. So we're going to be successful. So we got to put them in the best place where they can be successful and do the best for themselves, but more importantly for the unit. So I know this is going to take close scrutiny. This is not something anybody takes lightly, but we will, again, we want to make sure that we have the most operationally capable force. But I take your points, and I do appreciate all the guidance that you gave me during our meeting.
Yeah, thank you, General, and I'm very grateful for your service. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, General, for your service. As others have said before, it's not only yours, but your family's, and we're grateful to you for taking on this very important mission. No one joins the Marine Corps to fail, that's for sure, and I know that you want to give every opportunity to every Marine to serve to the best of his or her ability, and part of the reasons that Marines may, in quotes, fail or appear to fail may be invisible wounds of war, like post-traumatic stress. My colleague, Senator Donnelly, asked about mental health issues. Post-traumatic stress is the result of combat-related injuries that really have never been recognized in the past as much as they are now, and maybe not now as much as they should be. My very distinguished colleague and I, Senator McCain, sponsored a bill called the Clay Hunt Veteran Suicide Prevention Act to provide more research as well as more care to Marines and others who are injured in duty, often in combat, as a result of post-traumatic stress, other invisible wounds, and mental health and generally, to help prevent suicides that occur among them. I would welcome your commitment that you will encourage and support even more efforts to deal with post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury and those invisible wounds of war.
Senator, you have my total commitment to those actions.
Thank you. Do you have any specific initiatives that you've contemplated? I know it's early to ask you, but in that area to encourage more Marines to come forward, to identify themselves. Senator Donnelly asked about the stigma that's often associated with those kinds of wounds, but I just wonder if you have any specific initiative.
You know, Senator, I don't at this time, but all I can tell you is this. And we, like everybody else, we learned a lot the last 12 years. You know, unfortunately, we learned a lot about some bad things. And I do think that the force is that recognizes these invisible wounds. I remember a captain got IED'd several times, and we sent him to Landstuhl, and he was berated because he looked like he was fine. I honestly believe those days are gone. That said, and there may be Marines out there, or any service member out there, who's still dealing with something that's bugging them. The Marines I talk to and the Marines I serve with today, I don't know anybody that's not out there reaching out to talk to them and try to help them. And if they believe that you're going to try to help them, they'll come forward. And there are a lot who have. There may be some who have not. Those with TBI that have been diagnosed, we need to continue to take care of them because they're part of the force until they're no longer on this earth. So we're not perfect. We still have a lot to learn. Our Wounded Warrior Regiment takes care of Marines and stays in contact with them even after they're no longer on active service. So we owe all of them our best support, and I commit to you that if confirmed as commandant, that they're going to get it from me.
Thank you. Well, I welcome and I applaud that commitment and your sensitivity on this issue. I can guarantee, without being an expert, that there are Marines and soldiers and sailors and airmen who are out there with wounds that are bugging them, and they need the encouragement to come forward. Let me shift to...
Could I just interrupt? Are you familiar with the legislation, Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention Act?
Sir, I'm not.
Thank you.
I will become familiar with it, though, if confirmed, or if I'm interested now. I wasn't aware of it, Chairman.
Thank you.
We'll make sure that your office receives some additional material on it, but Senator McCain has really been a champion. I've been very proud to work with him on this issue, and it's critically important. 22 veterans every day in this country, the strongest, best country in the history of the world, commit suicide, and this bill is an effort to correct that problem. If I can just focus in my remaining seconds on the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, I know that we have not yet passed the initial operating capability tests and stage. I wonder if you could comment on what you see as the importance of this fifth-generation fighter to the Marine Corps.
Well, Senator, we hope soon that we will be able to declare, based on our readiness evaluation, that we are at IOC. As far as the airplane, it's going to replace 3 different airframes, the F-18, the Harrier, and the EA-6B. I'm not sure we even realize the potential of this airframe, other than the fact that it's a 5th-generation aircraft and will be able to enter airspace of our adversaries that we weren't able to enter before and safely do whatever the mission is. The real exciting thing about this airplane, other than we can hold targets at risk as part of the joint force that we weren't able to hold at risk before, is the electronics and all the information that this thing is going to be able to gather and eventually disseminate to the force on the ground. I'm an infantry guy. Planes are nice, but they're really nice when they drop bombs and they tell me what's on the other side of the hill. So that's really what I'm interested in, and I think, you know, this airplane potentially, if it does what we believe it's going to be able to do, is not just going to help us do what we do now better, it's going to change how we do what we do. And that's what we're going to have to learn as we go through this. So it is expensive. The more we build, the more our allies buy, the cheaper it will be. And so I'm excited about the potential that this provides to not just to the Marine Corps and the Naval Force, but to the Joint Force.
Thank you very much, General. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank you, General, for your service to the country and your wife as well and your whole family. Appreciate all that you've done and are willing to take on in this important position. Wanted to ask you about Iraq. I know that several others have asked you about, but having served our country in Iraq, and just seeing that the director of FBI, James Comey, said this week that ISIS now poses a greater terror threat to the U.S. than al-Qaeda, that's pretty telling. What is it that we need to do in Iraq now to address ISIS that we're not doing?
Senator, my time in Iraq is a bit dated, although I'm somewhat informed in my current job as to what we're doing as far as Marines and the Joint Force. So I think we're doing what we need to do right now. We're training the Iraqis. We're ensuring the provision of equipment and ammunition and supplies. We're working in their operations centers, working with them, advising them. The only thing that we're not doing is we're not accompanying them, at least to the best of my knowledge. So at the end of the day, whether we do or not, they're the ones that are going to have to do this. They're the ones that are going to have to restore their territory. And I believe, based on what I've seen them do in the past, that they have the capability to do that. Because we have to defeat ISIS. We have to get them to a point where they're insignificant and that they're just some people on the internet saying a bunch of stuff, but they don't have any capability or anything to back it up. And right now they are not, that's not where they are. They have land, they have terrain, and they're masquerading as a country.
As you look at what is where we are with Iraq and our current force posture in Afghanistan, what we have consistently heard from General Dunford and others is that it's important that we have a conditions-based withdrawal from Afghanistan as opposed to a calendar withdrawal. Would you agree with that, thinking about what we've seen happen in Iraq post our leaving?
Senator, it's my military opinion that a condition-based withdrawal is more effective than one based on time?
Because obviously your enemy can wait you out and know when you're going to leave versus what's happening on the ground. You would agree with me on that?
I would say that's an accurate statement.
So as one thing you said in terms of what we're doing in Iraq right now that we've repeatedly had raised in this committee, from your experience on the ground, generally does the employment of joint terminal attack controllers make airstrikes more accurate and effective?
I would agree that the provision or that capability or having that with a maneuver unit makes them more effective.
So one of the issues that I think needs to be addressed, obviously, right now, as I understand it, with Iraqi security forces, do you believe that our American military dropping airstrikes in Iraq right now would be more effective if JTACs were embedded at the tactical level?
In principle, yes, Senator, but there's got to be some methodology we've worked out that I'm not witting to that, you know, for a pilot to go out there, as good as they are, to just find a target, there's got to be some coordination going on because we do have Americans within their operations center, so there's got to be some coordination where they're being given at least a general location or a target or something to look at so that they're just not out there flying around. But I don't know the answer to that, but but if there were controllers, generally a unit is more effective. Yes, ma'am.
Certainly, that's what the JTACs do on the ground, is help ensure that the targets are more precise and effective. I wanted to ask you also about, you and I spoke briefly about this in my office, with what happened in Benghazi, where brave Americans were murdered. Where are we today in terms of, and I think one of the things that all of us were really upset about was the fact that our military couldn't respond quickly enough to help, and wanted to know where we are today. If we had another Benghazi-type attack in North Africa or the Middle East tonight, would the Marine Corps be in a better position to respond?
Senator, today, post-Benghazi and what is referred to as the new normal, the Marine Corps deployed a special purpose MAGTF, a ground combat unit, and some MV-22 Ospreys to Spain. That force has grown. It's a full infantry battalion spread across 3 bases and a squadron of 12 Ospreys. They have an alert force on a 6-hour alert. If there was known to be some sort of indications of warning, they could position themselves on other bases in the Mediterranean or even in Western Africa. There's a number of security locations we've established where we could go with the support of the host nation. So our capability is much greater, particularly if we have some idea that something's going to happen or we know that someone is going to go there and we need to provide them with protection. So we're in a much better place than we were at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. General, congratulations on your nomination. The Marine Corps, in my views, for pound, the finest fighting force we've ever created, so let's just keep it that way. Is it true that ISIL is targeting military personnel and their families, calling for attacks against our military personnel and their families here at home?
Senator, I'm not aware that they've specifically targeted American citizens. I am aware that they have put information about American citizens on social media.
It's my understanding that they've urged people to come after our military personnel and their families, and they're encouraging people here and abroad to do so. If the recruiters had been armed, do you think things would have been different?
Senator, I don't know.
I think they would have been, and here's the question I don't want to have ever again. I don't know. I mean the answer, because we got to know. So I think it would have mattered, and I know this is not your job unilaterally to decide. So it's now time, in my view, to get real with where we stand as a nation. They're coming after us here and everywhere else, and we better get ready to be able to defend our people. General Dunford said that he thought the greatest threat to America today was Russia, not radical Islam. Do you agree with that?
I agree with General Dunford that as a nation state, Russia is probably the greatest threat, but I believe that the greatest threat to the American people, because they say they want to kill us, is radical extremism.
Do you agree with me the greatest threat of all is a radical Islamic nation state with a nuclear weapon?
Any radical organization with a nuclear weapon is of great concern, Senator.
Do you agree with me that if Iran, do you believe Iran is a radical Islamic nation state?
I believe that Iran is a state that has involved itself in a number of nefarious activities which have created instability across the Middle East and other parts of the world.
Do you believe the Ayatollah really means it when he says death to America and death to Israel?
Senator, I've never spoken to the Ayatollah to ask him that question.
And I doubt if you will. But given all the behavior of Iran and their past activity, would it be smart to assume the worst when it came to the Ayatollah and not the best?
It would be my military advice to continue to watch them closely in everything they do and judge them on their actions and hold them accountable for those things that they do that violate international law and disrupt the stability of the region and the world.
Would you agree they're the primary destabilizing influence right now in the Mideast? They're supporting extremist organizations that have toppled 4 Arab capitals?
I believe that they are an extremely destabilizing force in the
Do you
Middle
agree
East.
with me Assad wouldn't last 15 minutes without Iranian and Hezbollah help?
So I'm aware that the Iranians are supporting the Assad government. I don't know if their withdrawal, how long he would last or not last. But
That's just, put it this way, they're Assad's main benefactor.
they are providing a great deal of support to him. Yes, Senator.
Do you agree that the pro-American, pro-Western government in Yemen was toppled because of Iranian support for the Houthis?
I believe that the Houthis received a significant amount of support from Iran. To what degree that allowed them to topple that government, that
Let's
would
put
be
it this way, if
conjecture on my
Iran
part.
stopped supporting the Houthis, do you think we'd have a different outcome?
Senator, that'd be speculative on my part. I've been to Yemen a couple times. The government they had was troubled, and they have a huge amount of tribal and factionalism in there. Clearly, Iranian support to the Houthis facilitated their successful actions in Yemen to topple the Hadi government.
Do you agree that Hezbollah would have a hard time surviving without Iran?
They would certainly not have the same capability they have today.
So my point is, from a Marine Corps...
General, you're not answering the senator's questions. Would you answer that question? Do you believe in that or not?
General, I'm not trying to put you in a bad box. I'm just trying to explain to the American people who the Iranians are and what they're up to. That's all I'm trying to do. Do you agree with me that they are a very destabilizing influence in the Mideast? They're the largest state sponsor of terrorism, and we should know that?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. Finally, as to the Marine Corps, you've indicated that in 1975, the Marine Corps was a place that was in a bad spot. You've come a long way. Do you agree with me that if we impose sequestration and we fully implement it by 2021, the Marine Corps will be in a bad spot?
Yes, Senator.
At a time we need the Marine Corps the most.
We would not be able to provide the capabilities that we need to provide to the nation.
In your time as a Marine, have you ever seen a larger need for the United States Marine Corps than today in terms of the threats we face?
Senator, this is a very challenging time, and I think this is a time when a force like the Marine Corps would have great capability for the nation.
Thank you very much.
Well, General, before we close, when you say we're doing what we need to do in Iraq, I think I don't know where you've been. Obviously, ISIS is winning in Iraq, and for you not to be in favor of us having forward air controllers on the ground in some scholastic answer, you know full well, as I do, forward air controllers make the difference. There's 75% of the sorties that are flown return to base without firing a weapon. And this line about they're the ones that have to do it themselves, General, they can't do it themselves. We know that. The Iraqis cannot do it themselves. That's why they're losing. That's why they've lost their second largest city. That's why ISIL continues to make gains, and the only people that are fighting against them are the Iranian-backed Shiite militias. So the Iraqis have to do it, but without American assistance, including air power, including forward air controllers on the ground, we're going to see this stalemate. And for you to say we're doing what we need to do, then maybe you can tell me what we're doing that will win against ISIS. Can you tell me that?
Senator, what we're doing, I believe, is providing advisor teams and support.
And that's succeeding, and that's causing success. Is that right?
It's stemmed the tide for ISIS, but it is not removing them from Iraq. So it is not succeeding right now.
So you believe that ISIS is losing?
No, sir, I do not.
You believe they're winning?
No, sir, I don't believe they're winning either. I believe they're at a stalemate right now.
They're at a stalemate. And when you have a stalemate, then when the enemy controls the second largest city and about a third of it, and the only people that are fighting against them are Shia militias, backed by Iranians, with Soleimani, who was responsible for the deaths in General Dunford's testimony of 500 Marines and soldiers orchestrating the attacks, I don't think we're, quote, doing what we need to do, General. I'm going to give you some written questions. I'm very disappointed in a number of your answers. Let me just go back again. You know what happened in that recruiting station, don't you? The guy walked up to the door and shot and killed 4 Marines. You know, that was in the media, I'm sure. No matter what job you're holding, you knew that, didn't you?
Yes, Senator.
Then shouldn't we have had those Marines be able to defend themselves?
Senator, the Marines needed to have the force protection they needed. At the recruiting station, there was only 1 individual wounded. It was at the reserve center where they killed. But yes, they should have been able to defend themselves, Senator.
Thank you. I'll have some questions for the record. But, General, if you think we're doing what we need to do in Iraq and Syria, then we have a real strong and different view of the situation there. We lost too many good Marines in the Battle of Fallujah and Ramadi. And Senator Graham and I were over there, and one of my sons fought there. And for us to say we're doing what we need to do, I think, frankly, is not in keeping with the appreciation we should have for the sacrifice that those brave young people made.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I just simply want to say I don't think anyone understands the sacrifices that the Marines made in Iraq better than General Neller. And I think his comments are his professional opinions based upon what he knows, not as the commander in Iraq, but as the aspirant to be the commandant. But I certainly think that there's no one that feels more deeply about the situation in Iraq on a personal level from leading Marines there than General Neller, and that should be part of the record. Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned.